Hello, good morning. Hello, good almost afternoon. Welcome to our online presence optimization session. We are pegged to kick off right at 12, but we do want to give folks a couple of minutes to jump in. So we're going to jump in right at 12:05. So buckle your seatbelts, make sure you're ready. If you haven't got a snack, get a snack. Need a bio break, now's the time. But we will be jumping in about 5 minutes here, just to let as many attendees as possible jump in. So if you didn't tell a friend, now is the time. Get them in the room. But we will kick off in about 5 minutes here. Thank you all so much for joining us for our Reach Customers Online with Google session with Israel Svernon. Thank you. 5 minutes, and we begin.
Hey everyone, while we wait, I do want to just call out the chat feature of the Zoom platform, and we want to take advantage of having you all join us virtually by just doing a little bit of networking, with one another. So let us know the name of your business, and if you have a website URL, please share that with us. We'd love to just get to know who's in the audience, what you do, what you specialize in, and do some networking. So while we wait for others to join, please drop us your name, the name of your business, and then link to your websites. So I see that we have Sapna. Welcome, Sapna. Thank you for chatting with us. And do take advantage of the chat feature, like I said. So Sapna, brand manufacturers of the smallest omega-3 DH supplements. Oh, that's interesting, for brain, vision, and nerve health. That's pretty cool. Where are you based out of, Sapna? We've got John, marketing and writing services, both content marketing and proposal writing for biometric technology and general businesses. Wow, very niche, John. I like that it's you're very focused on a certain demographic in a certain industry. So that's always great when you can build out a niche market for yourself and specialize in something. So thank you for sharing and being with us today, John. Oh, Laguna Niguel. So Sapna, I actually grew up in Orange County, so I'm actually part-time in Laguna Beach, so not too far from you. So John says he's still working on expanding. That's good. And it shows because you're here spending time with us this afternoon, which says a lot about your efforts.
Way to jump in. I love it. I love it.
Hey, Bernita, Opulent Global Products out of Orange County. Isaiah Carter representing American National Multi-Line Insurance. Welcome, Isaiah. Great. Hey, Holly. Healing Handcrafted Jewelry out of Vancouver, Canada. Nice. We love our Canadian neighbors. We've got Dana Fry, CEO, co-founder of Ujamba Bank. Our MVP is Ujama Coin, online financial solution featuring a stable coin. Thanks for sharing your link, Isaiah. Perfect, okay. Thank you everybody for joining in the chat. Madeline from New York City. I'm handcrafted small fashion accessories. So we're covering a big region today, Brian. We've got folks from Canada, we've got New York.
Wow.
This is incredible.
We are so happy to have you all here. This is really cool. Keep it coming. Keep introducing yourselves. This is what we're all about. This is your ecosystem of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, somebody just shared their LinkedIn profile. That's actually a really cool thing too. I mean, I'm big on LinkedIn, so if I could be a resource myself. So yeah, so whether it's your website or your LinkedIn profile, definitely share your links.
About one more minute here. If anyone else wants to jump in and introduce themselves, feel free. And we'll kick off in about 60 seconds. All right. All right. So we are at the 12:05 minute. It is game time. We are jumping in. Are y'all ready to learn how to reach customers online with Google? I know I am. I'm excited for this presentation. So if you're not, I mean, heck, come on, get excited. But welcome, Carla. Thanks for introducing yourself with Bella Home Furniture. Feel free to share who you are and a link if you'd like, but we are going to jump right in. Israel Cerna with Grow with Google. Thank you so much for bringing this presentation to us. We are really excited. Israel's going to share a little bit more about himself, but thank you for joining us here at AMPAC, where we are partnering with our Grow with Google team to give you this presentation. And this is the first of a series that we're doing in May. So if you want more, we're bringing more. But with that, Israel, I'll let you take it away. Thank you so much.
Brian, thank you so much for having me. I'm equally excited to be launching this partnership with AMPAC and with you. And I really do share your enthusiasm with just being with everybody this afternoon. So again, welcome everybody. Today's session is titled Reach Customers Online with Google. The main objective of today is to really give you an introductory or an introduction to how Google works, some of the tools that Google offers. As Brian mentioned, we are coming back in May with a much more robust program that's actually going to go into more in depth into some of the products that I'm going to cover today. So today, it's an overview of like how Google works, just making sure that you are appearing in the right places online. And I'm going to share a lot of great tools with you and resources. But before I do want to just quickly talk about the Grow with Google program. In case you aren't familiar with the program, this program is an initiative by Google to help entrepreneurs and job seekers improve their online presence, okay? So today, it's more focused on entrepreneurs and how they can use Google tools to help their online presence and be found by customers. On the screen is a link to the Grow with Google website. There's a ton of resources that Google has made available for you on that site, specifically for small businesses. So I invite you to visit us at grow.google/small businesses to learn more. Again, I want to thank our host today for organizing today's session, but most importantly for their partnership with the Grow with Google program. Once again, I'm Israel Cerna, and actually today I'm actually joining you virtually from Santa Barbara, California. I'm in the process of moving from LA. So I'm based in Santa Barbara this week, and it's great pleasure to be spending the afternoon with you. My contact information is on the screen. If you have questions after today's webinar, feel free to reach out. As I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I often share articles related to digital marketing best practices, share promotions and upcoming for my upcoming sessions. So if you're on LinkedIn, if you're looking to network or connect with somebody, feel free to look for me on that platform as well. So let's take a look at the agenda for today. So I'm going to start by showing you how Google search works and the 3 ways your information or company information can appear on search results page through search engine optimization, second, through business profiles on Google, and lastly, through online advertising, okay? So for those of you that have not yet explored online advertising, this will be an introductory crash course into how Google Ads work, okay? So let's start by sharing with you that business owners today, and if you've attended one of my sessions in the past or in the future, you're gonna hear me say this often, that in today's climate and in today's world, you know, our customers are very well researched, okay? Basically what this means is that our customers are very savvy, and more often than not, by the time they decide to call your business or visit your brick and mortar location, the chances of them knowing something about your business is highly likely, because we're going online to research your company, we're going online to read reviews, we're going online to look at images or product images of what you offer, okay? And so again, our customers these days are much more savvier and much more research. Like I said, the chances of them knowing something about your business prior to them calling you or visiting your brick and mortar location is highly likely. And if you are having a hard time understanding what this means, just think about how you actually go about your day-to-day about buying a product or seeking a service, right? I'm sure most of us are turning to search to look for a company nearby, to read a review. You know, what are people saying about that company or that service-based business, right? Again, we're all doing it. It's happening every day, every second of the day. And so my objective for today is to really help you understand how people are searching for you and then how people are coming across your company information, okay? So throughout this presentation, I think it's important for you to just really keep that in mind, right? What does this actually mean for my business, okay? One thing that I also want to really emphasize is that with this idea that our customers are very well researched, is that it is highly likely that for some customers or some prospects, your website may be your new front door, okay? So what this means is that even if you have a brick and mortar location, right? Brian is asking, yes, they will be shared. So your website could be the new front door to your business, right? So this is why it's important that if we do have a website, we want to make sure that our websites are well optimized and that our contact information is accurate, okay? So let's take a look at some data and some statistics that we've learned from this past 2 years, okay? So according to Google data from February of last year, searches for local plus business, okay, have grown more than 80% year over year. What this should tell you, okay, is that customers these days, not only are we well researched, right, that we're going online to find new companies, but we're very conscious about where we spend our money, okay? I'm not surprised to see that people are actually looking to buy local these days, okay? I think one thing that we really saw during the pandemic is that people really rallied for local businesses by making sure that they were still shopping locally with their favorite businesses to help them keep, you know, in business. Okay, so the next statistic that I wanted to share, this is from June of 2020, but basically what this statistic says is that 61% of US consumers, okay, I know we have some Canadians on the call today, 61% of US consumers think that buying online and picking up in store or curbside will be a beneficial way for them to shop even after these restrictions are being lifted, okay? So the key thing here is, for those of you that are thinking like, is everything going online or exclusively online? What this is telling us is that while your customer journey or that particular customer's journey may begin online, it's ending offline. Okay, so let me repeat that again, okay? This means that for some customers, okay, their journey with your business or your brand or your services may start offline, but it ends up in person through like curbside pickups or things like that, okay? So just something to keep in mind in case you're wondering if you're feeling like everything feels like everything's going online. So let me quickly share a video with you just to kind of capture exactly what I'm trying to emphasize to you this afternoon, which is how people are searching for products or services these days. So I'm going to go ahead and play a video for you, and I'll be back shortly. Awesome. You know, I love showing this video because it really emphasizes for me and hopefully for you that these micro moments exist and they happen every day, every second of the day, right? So what I would love for you to do is think about for your business, what are those moments? What are those micro moments that people are thinking about before they reach out to you, before they search for your business or service? So again, these micro moments are happening every day, every second. And I'm sure combined between all 14 of us that are here this afternoon, that we've done collectively, you know, thousands, if not millions of searches for things like that, right? So think about these micro moments, think about the what ifs or the what I need to know that people are typing in related to your product or service, okay? So let's quickly talk about how Google search works, okay? Now, this may be some repeat information for some of you, but I wanna make sure that collectively we are all on the same page and have come to understand how Google search works, okay? I think that there is a common misconception out there that Google is the internet. And in reality, Google is a search engine, okay? So Google is actually, its main job is to find answers to the questions or the searches that people are typing into their search query, okay? So on your screen is you're seeing what a typical Google page would look like, right? And we know that here, people are typing in keywords, phrases, or questions, okay? Now, what Google does in this particular instance, so think about Google like a library, right? Where it's archiving thousands and thousands of websites like a library would with books, right? Now, the big difference is that Google is just not archiving these websites, but Google's actually reading every detail of the website and really coming to understand what's in the website, okay? So a librarian, when you would walk into a librarian or a library, they're gonna be able to point you in the direction of where that book is located, right? Sometimes they may be able to give you insight into that book, right? With Google, it's not only going to give you the website, but it's actually going to find exactly what you're looking for within the website. And this is, for you, small business owners, the power that you have when it comes to your own websites. So when you are building out your website and you're incorporating and adding relevant content, fresh new content, Google is going to reward you for that, because Google, you're basically helping Google do its job. Okay. So my takeaway, or my hope for you within this discussion about how Google works, is that you have control over what Google can display about your business through your website and the type of content that you're including or incorporating into that website. Okay. So as we know, this is what your typical search result page would look like. Okay. And I want to highlight a couple of ways that your business would appear. Okay. So one, we're going to talk about the most important section, which is in the organic results page. And this is the money. This is where we want to end up. And this is where you, as a business owner, have control over how you can come up within those organic search rankings. Because outside of the time that it's going to cost you to optimize your website, showing up in the organic results page is free. Okay. So this is where we definitely want to end up. Now, depending on your business, you can actually create or claim your business profile on Google. And in May, I'm not going to talk too much about, I'm going to briefly talk about this later, but we actually have a whole session in May that's going to talk to you about best practices and then how to get the most out of your business profiles on Google. Okay. So here is how your business profile would appear on the Google results page. And then we've got the Google ads, okay, which we're going to talk about later on as well. So again, the way that Google works in this particular instance, again, it's a search engine that's actually scouring the internet through Google bots to be able to find answers to the questions that people are looking for, okay? And it's doing this in milliseconds. Now, one of the frequent questions that I get from business owners is, you know, what does Google factor, or what are the factors or signals that Google considers when it is trying to rank a website? Okay. Now, there's hundreds of signals that Google considers, but some of the key ones are relevancy. So for example, if I go and type in yoga pants in a search query, show me running shoes. Okay, it's going to do its best to just show me items that are relevant to that search query. Okay, it's also going to consider your location. Okay, so this is why a search for yoga pants for me in Santa Barbara is going to result very differently for Brian, who's in Orange County. Okay, so the distance or your location does matter, and it does get factored in. The third thing is the relevancy of your website. So basically what this means is, you know, what are people saying? How often are people, you know, reaching your website? You know, what other sites are linking back to your website? So this is why it's important that if you have a social media presence out there with various platforms, make sure to include your URL on those platforms, because we want to regularly and frequently drive as much traffic from those platforms to our website. Okay, so we've got relevancy, we've got distance, okay, and then we've got like how well known your website is. Okay, so let's talk about reaching more customers through search engine optimization. Okay, so this may sound like a very technical thing. A lot of people get intimidated when I say the word search engine optimization or SEO, but just know that this is probably, as a business owner, the area or the biggest opportunity where you can actually influence how your website appears and when your website appears on Google results pages. Okay, so again, efforts or putting effort into your search engine optimization is going to help you appear in the organic results page. Okay, again, there are many signals that Google considers. So here on your screen is you're seeing how a search results for Trade Street Jam can appear on the organic results, okay? And organic search results are different than paid search, okay? So a lot of people ask me, can I pay to appear first in the organic results page? And the answer is no, okay? And even when we talk about ads, I'm gonna talk to you about when and how Google decides when to display your ad, okay? So I could do a whole presentation on just SEO best practices, but I'm going to share with you just a couple of tips for you to improve your own website ranking in the Google search results and be able to attract higher quantity and quality websites to grow your online presence. Now, here's the thing, okay? I want to emphasize something here. A lot of people are in a race to appear first because they want to drive a ton of traffic to their website. And I actually really want you to think about that for a second, because for me, I don't just want to drive a ton of traffic. I actually want to drive quality traffic, okay? And this is what search engine optimization is all about. It's making sure that we can tell Google exactly when we want our website to appear to a searcher, okay? Again, this isn't, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I love high website visits, but if you're just driving traffic to drive traffic and not driving quality traffic, then it's really not helping you out in the long run, okay? So SEO is important when it comes to managing a website for your product, service, or brand, okay? I often see that business owners launch their website and they think that they're done once it's live. And the reality is that our websites need to be constantly updated. They constantly need to be updated so that we can make sure that Google has a really good understanding of our product or services, okay? So ranking and search results for particular keywords, topics, and phrases can help you connect with your ideal customer. One of the things, or one of the homework assignments that I'll have for you today, if you don't already have this, is for you to create a list of 10 to 15 keywords that are related to your business, okay? So if I'm running a coffee shop, for example, and I specialize in coffees from Mexico, okay? I'm gonna wanna make sure that within my list of keywords or phrases that I have Mexican coffee or coffees from Oaxaca. You know, these are the things that we wanna own, because what I want you to do with this list is I want you to start incorporate as many of those keywords, not only on your website, but across all of your other online strategy, so that Google can start to recognize those keywords with your business, okay? So let me share an exercise that I did with a business owner a couple weeks back, okay? So this person, Rob, is a business owner, and his hair salon is Atelier Salon and Studio in San Jose, California. And like all of us, he wanted to find a way to improve his search ranking, okay? So we did a real basic search exercise that you should do after this webinar. So what I did is I actually went and I actually typed in Atelier Salon San Jose, you know, a very basic search based on what I would type as a customer to look for his hair salon. Now, what's interesting is if you're struggling with your keyword list or coming up with keywords, one recommendation that I have for you is to take advantage of this related search section that comes up on all search results, okay? One of the things that we found out in this exercise with Rob is that he had never considered incorporating or using Santa Ana Row in his keyword list. Now, Santa Ana Row is actually the name of the shopping center that his hair salon is located in, okay? So when we did this exercise and when we continued with this exercise, we learned that, you know, there was some other keywords here or related search queries that he then could start to incorporate into his keyword list or phrases, okay? Now, let me show you another exercise that we did, okay? So when I went in and I just did another basic search for Atelier Studio, remember that's the name of his hair salon, okay? what I found was that Google was literally reading those keywords as two separate things, ateliers and studios. And so what you can see on the screen is when we went to the images tab, and even when you go to the shopping tab, for example, it was pulling up all these just very generic studios and ateliers because there wasn't enough unique keywords in there for Google to identify it as the hair salon. Now, let me show you what happened after we typed in the shopping center, okay? Because remember, we learned in the related search query that Santa Ana Row was actually one of the top related searches that people were using to come across their hair salon. And all of a sudden, as you can see on your screen, it's only showing their salon. So this proved to us that we needed to start incorporating those additional keywords into his marketing, into his strategy, so that Google could really, learn his business through these keywords. Okay, so again, keywords matter. I would work on your list of 10 to 15 keywords. Okay, now for those of you that are looking to improve your search engine optimization ranking, here are some additional tips for you. Okay, one, make sure that you're regularly publishing relevant and original content on your website. Okay, this content should be useful and accurate and should provide value to your customers. Okay, there's no rule of thumb to how often you should do it or how frequent, but you should definitely try to update your website regularly. Okay, so that Google can Google can see that as like fresh content. Okay, now when you're writing your content, remember to include your keywords that potential customers would use to find your pages. So you're going to reference that list of 10 to 15 keywords or phrases and incorporate as many of those keywords into that new content, blog article, etc., that you are developing. Okay, you're also going to want to make sure that you organize and keep your website organized. Okay, so what this means is that Google, like your customers, they want to make sure that your website is easy to navigate. They don't want to get lost in, like 20 pages of irrelevant content. Okay, there's this misconception with entrepreneurs. They feel like they need to fill their website with a ton of content or a ton of pages. And the reality is, if you do that, there's nothing wrong with that. Is that you want to make sure that it's easy to use, that it's easy to navigate, because Google will actually reward you for keeping a well-organized website. Okay, so again, these search engine optimization tips that I just shared with you, they're not technical, really. They're really more about a strategy, and really, as hopefully the takeaway for you here are things that you actually have control over. Okay, so when it comes to content, some other things that I want to clarify is often is the case that when entrepreneurs hear me say develop content, the first thing that comes to mind are text or words. Okay, and that is, text and words are part of content. However, images and videos and downloadable guides, this is also content that Google considers and that Google favors. Okay, so for example, if you have a product line of bicycles or something like that, right? You may want to include a gallery of these images on your website, right? And Google loves images. We want to make sure though that when we are uploading images, that we give it a proper description and that we're taking advantage of the alt text so that way Google knows exactly what is in that picture. Okay, so descriptions do go a long way. One mistake that I see when images or entrepreneurs are uploading images to their website is they keep the naming file like what the actual camera gave it. For example, you may be uploading a photo of a new product line, but the image is saved as image 149, right? We want to make sure that we rename those images and give it, incorporate keywords or phrases so that way Google knows what's in that image. Okay, now don't think that you're going to trick the system by giving it something random. Okay, we saw this early on, like 20 years ago when SEO became a thing, that developers, because remember 20 years ago developers were the people that were actually creating our websites. is, they were hacking the system by giving images or names to images that didn't actually match the image. For example, it was very common for people to rename an image Oprah or Britney Spears because those were the things that were trending, right? And so then when people would type in Oprah or Britney Spears, your product would show up, right? And Google really caught on to that fast and actually now penalizes you for not giving it the proper description, okay? So if you're gonna upload images, make sure that you're taking advantage of the alt text and that we're naming these image files what they are, okay? So the key thing here is that content can be videos, it can be downloadable guides. Here's a pro tip for you, okay? And I share this with everybody is FAQ pages or sections on your website are a gold mine, okay? Here's why. So FAQ, in case you don't know, stands for frequently asked questions, okay? If you remember when I said to you that Google's job is to find answers to people's questions. So when you have an FAQ section on your website that addresses questions that are relevant to your service or product, Google loves that because remember, you're helping Google get answers quicker for people who are doing search queries around that particular product or service. So I would start with, and I could interview all 15 of you that are here on with me this afternoon. I could take 2 minutes with you and I could say to you, share with me the top 5 questions that you get from customers. And probably you would probably be able to come up with more than 5, okay? I would start with 5, write the question and write the answer and have that be a whole section on your website where you're providing, in many ways, customer support, but you're also gonna be sharing out to people answers to these frequently asked questions, okay? So take advantage of FAQ sections. Google loves FAQ sections, okay? I'm also gonna point you to a tool called Google Trends. So if you're wondering if a product or service that you're offering, how it's trending across the country, or maybe you're thinking about some keywords that you wanna use and you wanna just test out like naming of these keywords, like for example, like boba or bubble tea. Through Google Trends, you can actually see if these keywords or these topics are being talked about and then where, okay? So let me share with you another example or another exercise that I did with Rob, where in conversation, he mentioned to me that he had actually been dealing with a lot of customers who were experiencing hair loss, okay? So I said, Rob, let's go to Google Trends and let's just see what people are saying or if other people are talking about hair loss, right? So I know it's a little bit hard to read, but on your screen, basically what this report does is on a ranking from 0 to 100, it actually tells you, with 100 being a high trending, how these terms were being used. And what we found was not only had hair loss been trending for the last 2 years, but it had also been trending across the entire country, with New York being the #1 state for searches around hair loss, okay? Now, remember, this hair salon studio was based in San Jose, California. And what we found was that California was #4 in terms of the state with the highest search ranking for hair loss. Now, this exercise proved to Rob that one, it wasn't his only clients that were experiencing this, but this was actually a much larger problem, right? So what he did with this information is he actually started to run Google ads targeting people with hair loss, and then within these 4 states, because he does shipping. So he actually created a whole campaign targeting these top states, promoting his hair loss product line, okay? So you could do the same thing for your own business, okay? You can go in and do a Google trend and see, what are people saying about your product, your service, or the industry that you're in. Some additional tools, these could be a little bit more technical, but things that you want to consider when it comes to your search ranking is you want to make sure that your website has a fast load time. Often it's the case that we're uploading image files that are really large and they don't need to be. So, you want to make sure that you're uploading web-friendly images to your website, okay? And then also that we are providing a great user experience across all browsers and devices, okay? So here's the thing with this, two things. One, if you've launched your website within, I don't know, the last 10 years, chances are that the platform that you're using, whether it's Shopify, WordPress, or Wix, most of these platforms now offer mobile responsive templates, which basically means it's going to recognize the device that that customer is using and automatically adjust itself to that screen to provide a great user experience. Okay, it's important that we make a note of this, because more and more customers are searching for us on their mobile devices, and sometimes we know that there are certain websites that don't provide a great user experience from a mobile device. I want to make sure that your websites are not doing that, that in fact your websites are offering a great user experience and that they're mobile responsive, okay? So again, that's another potential exercise for you, is to, take a look at how your website displays on an iPad versus a mobile versus a desktop. We need to be able to factor all these things in, because remember, we don't have control over how people search for us these days, okay? And as you know, they have a ton of options with different devices. In addition, I want to share with you that Google has a tool called Test My Site. So you can actually enter your URL, and Google is going to rank your website based on the speed. And it's actually going to give you a report back as to how you can improve your website load time. Okay, so take advantage of this free tool. And then the other tool is called Google Search Console. I love the Google Search Console. This is probably one of my favorite tools that Google offers, because it's like having a second pair of eyes on our website, okay? Basically what this Search Console does is that it's gonna regularly and constantly monitor our links. So if you have a broken link on your website, it's gonna alert you that you have a broken link on your website, okay? And then the other thing is that with Google Search Console is you can actually report to Google anytime you have new content on your website. For example, if I have a blog on my website and I just published a blog article, I can go to Google Search Console, enter the URL, and let Google know, by the way, there's new content on my website. I would love for you to archive it and start to show it as quickly as possible to people on search. So you're basically getting ahead of the algorithm and the Google bot that's always scanning your website. You're basically getting ahead of it, or getting ahead of it one step ahead, by just letting Google know that you have new content on your website, okay? So take advantage of that. So I'm not gonna go too deep into the business profiles on Google, because we have a whole workshop dedicated to this, but the homework for you is, if you haven't already claimed your Google profile, I encourage you to go do it. I do want to preface it by saying that these business profiles that Google offers are ideal for those businesses that meet with customers regularly in person, or if you have a brick and mortar location, okay? If you are a service-based business, you can still have a business profile on Google, and there are ways for you to be able to appear with a Google business profile without having to publish your home address, okay? So we actually recommend that you don't publish your home address if you're a service-based business that operates out of your home. So you would go to google.com/business to get started. This is a look at how that profile appears. There are tons of benefits to these profiles. I would say the biggest benefit of this is that Google's going to give you control over the information that you want to display around your business. So things like your hours of operation, which is probably at this point, one of the biggest things that people are probably researching about your business is, what are your hours? Are you closed? Have you reopened, etc.? So the ability to be able to take control over what Google displays for your hours of operation is huge, because a lot of us are doing it these days. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, a lot of businesses had to temporarily close down. There are businesses that actually maybe had to extend their hours. And so this becomes and has become a critical piece to the business profiles on Google. There's tons of other benefits for you to be able to do postings. You can collect reviews. We're going to talk a lot about reviews in May when I offer you the session. But it's extremely powerful for you to be able to collect reviews and be able to respond to those reviews through your business profile on Google, okay? So again, we have a whole session in May that's gonna dive deeper into this. If you want, as homework, go and claim your business profile if you haven't already. And if you already have your business profile, join us in May where I'm gonna talk to you more about how to get the most out of your business profiles on Google, okay? All right. Lastly, we have about 15 minutes left. So this is the last section. I'm going to talk about Google Ads or online advertising, and then I'm going to address the questions that I see that have come in the chat. All right. So as we know, with Google Ads, this is a paid platform. So you do have to pay for these ads. Now, the key thing about these Google Ads is that they are pay per click, which basically means that you don't pay for appearing on the search results. You only pay anytime somebody clicks on that ad. So already the advantage here with these Google Ads is that you're going to be able to land on search queries when people are looking for your product or service, okay? So the ability to make a first impression by landing on the search results is, one of the big benefits. And then the second one is that you don't pay unless somebody clicks on that ad, okay? So I just want to make sure that I made that clear. Now, Google, in response to entrepreneurs or small businesses who maybe don't have a background in advertising, came up with a platform called Smart Campaigns as a solution for first-time advertisers, okay? Now, within this platform, you're going to have the ability to launch an ad pretty quickly without having to have a lot of background, because Google's algorithm is actually going to take a lot of that guessing game out, okay? I'm not going to go through this checklist because you're going to get, access to the slides afterwards, but essentially we would want to make sure that before you decide to start advertising or before you launch your first Google ad, that you take care of a couple of things, right? One thing that I would actually say is probably missing from this list that I would recommend that you do is you want to make sure that before you start driving a ton of traffic to your website, make sure that your website is up to date, that it's optimized, that it's looking good. Because remember, if we're going to be driving a lot of traffic to your website, we want to make a good first impression, okay? So I would say that would be like step number one above anything. Now, with Google Ads or through Smart Campaigns, what you're going to find is that Google's going to ask you a couple of questions, okay? The first question is, what is the goal of this ad, okay? And you're actually going to be able to select from three options. One, you can actually drive people to call you. So if you are in a business that relies on appointments or bookings or requires special instructions, you can drive people to a phone number. Okay, so you can actually drive traffic to get people to call you, okay? Then there are those ads for those of you that are maybe looking to increase your web presence or your web traffic or your e-commerce, maybe even like signups for your newsletter. You can actually point people to a particular section of your website, okay? Then the third option is for those of us that have brick and mortar locations like restaurants, for example, you can actually drive people to a particular location, okay? So this would also be great for, brick and mortar businesses, venues, or parks, okay? So you'll be able to, like I said, especially if you're trying to drive traffic to a particular section of your website, my recommendation is that you always, instead of developing a campaign on your overall business, I would actually encourage you to create ads that are very specific, that are promoting a particular product or service, and then send them to that particular section of your website, okay? So you can see here, this is a look at the dashboard. What you'll notice quickly is that as you create the copy for your ad, you're going to be able to see in real time how that ad is going to appear, okay? So this example here is what is a text ad, okay? But it's also a text ad that's driving people to a phone number. So if you were curious to see how an ad promoting a phone number would look like, this is what that would look like, okay? You will also have control over where that ad can be displayed. This is particularly important for those of you that have brick and mortar businesses. You may want to focus on a particular county, particular city, because you're looking to drive foot traffic. So it may benefit you to just focus on a county, right? So you can actually let Google know exactly the area where you want your Google ad to appear. You'll be able to set a daily budget. Just know that you can always pause on your budget, and then Google's never going to surpass that daily budget that you've allocated. So it's a great way for you to maybe ease some of that anxiety of maybe overspending. Just know that when you set your budget, Google's going to stick to that budget. And again, it's only going to charge you when somebody has clicked on that ad. The other thing that's going to be important with Google Ads is that you measure the performance of these ads. So the dashboard on the back end is going to track your impressions. So this is how many people have actually seen your ad, how many people have clicked on your ad, and then how many people actually took an action on your ad. So you're going to, in real time, be able to see how your ads are performing. Now, if you find that maybe you're not getting the clicks that you've anticipated, you can always pause that ad and then change the copy, change the call to action. I find that when an ad is not performing too well, sometimes what's happened is we weren't very clear on the call to action. We weren't really giving exact directions to people. So again, the benefit to these smart campaigns is that you can always pause and modify your ads, okay? All right, so let's quickly just review the resources that I mentioned today. Again, this is the 3 areas where your business can appear on Google search rankings, okay? Here's a recap of all the resources that I mentioned today, including Google Trends, Test My Site, Google Search Console, Google Business, and then Google Ads. Again, quick links to some of the other resources that Google offers. And then before we move on, I do want to quickly plug, and Brian, maybe I can count on you to drop a link to our Eventbrite, but this is a look at the series that's coming up. So I'm actually going to be joined by a good friend of mine, Joan Stanford, who's going to be, she and I are going to be offering a month-long series. She's going to kick things off with an email marketing session. I'm then going to come back and talk about these business profiles on Google. Then Joan is going to come back and talk to us about marketing the right way. And then last but not least, I'm going to come and talk to you about the 6 characteristics that Google considers when they're ranking your website, okay? So I invite everybody to join us for this series that's going to take place in May. If you know of other entrepreneurs that could benefit from this content, I encourage you to share this link with them, okay? So let's head to the chat. Brian, do you have any first impressions on what I just shared? Any feedback?
We do have a couple questions that were popped into the chat, but as this is a webinar, if you do have something you would like to say, feel free to raise your hand and we can permit talking, so you can chime in. But I will reference the chat. Sapna did pop a couple questions in there. And her first question was top tips for just looking for top tips that a small e-commerce business that wants more exposure should be looking to utilize. And specifically, she was asking what the minimum Google ad spend that tiny companies should expect to shell out to gain meaningful traction through the Google ads.
Right. So there's no minimum. What I would actually recommend that you do is I do this with all first-time advertisers, and actually just a marketing best practice is for you can start with $100, for example. Okay, let's just set aside a budget of $100 for this particular exercise that I'm about to share. What I'm going to do is instead of dedicating all $100 to one particular campaign, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create 2 ads, and this is called A/B testing. I'm going to create one ad with one image and one particular call to action, and then I'm going to run a second ad with a different image and a different call to action. I'm going to take $20 from my $100. I'm going to divide that $20 and I'm going to give $10 to each of these campaigns. I'm going to run them simultaneously. I'm going to give it a week, 5 days, and I'm going to see which ad performs better than the other. Okay. So this is a really good way for you to get a good understanding of maybe if one image outperforms another, maybe one call to action is just much more appealing than the other. After those 5 days, I'm going to take my remaining budget and I'm going to allocate the remaining budget to that ad that performed better. Okay. So I would think of it from that perspective. Instead of thinking like, do I need to set a $10,000 or $1,000? I would just start to figure out where and how and which ads are going to perform better. Okay. Because one thing that I want to mention is that Google doesn't reward one ad over the other because maybe one ad has a higher budget than the other. What Google's going to consider is the quality of that ad. Okay. So Google's not just going to display an ad first because they have a higher budget. It's actually going to consider the quality of that ad. Okay. Hopefully that answered that question. I did see Satna had a question earlier about just best practices for around competing with larger companies. So here's one way to look at it, because I think sometimes we are intimidated by like the Amazons of the world and et cetera that maybe have a higher keyword budget than we do, right? Your advantage to all of this is that you're smaller and can move quicker than an Amazon, okay? For example, okay? Just to compare. Your advantage is that you can have a direct relationship with your customers. So you're gonna know firsthand what their issues are or what their needs are, okay? Because you're gonna probably have a working relationship with them. I would take advantage of that insight that you have and create content on your website that's going to appeal to them, right? Educate them on something that is related to your business, like supplements. There's so much information out there that people are looking for on the types of supplements they should be taking, how often. So if you start to incorporate and bring that type of value, believe me, you're going to definitely outshine the higher competitors because you're providing relevant content to your customers.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for that answer. That was Sapna's second question. And that was the last question I saw in the chat. And I did not see any of the Q&A. So I do want to open the floor one more time. If anyone has any other questions, is there a slide they want to catch a screenshot? Is there something that resonated that they want where you're going to get all?
We love feedback, Brian. I mean, impressions, if there's a takeaway, a key thing that you learned today, I mean, we are always looking for that type of intel because, we're all at different stages, right, of understanding our online presence. And so for me, it's always super helpful anytime I can hear, where different people are or what resonated with somebody.
Yeah, I see a hand up from Holly. Let's see. I will allow you to talk, Holly. Do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great seminar. I appreciate all the information. I have a question about when you were saying about uploading images to our website. Is there an ideal size? Because when you say an ideal size for the image, because I have always sort of uploaded large images, so it's of jewelry so that people can.
Yeah, you probably have a lot. Yeah, no, in your case, images are key, right? I mean, your gallery is probably the #1 searched thing because people want to see. So what I would recommend that you do is there's a lot of great tools out there like canva.com, for example, that can, first of all, provide templates, right? But also guide you on the pixel size, right? Especially if you're looking to create, depending on the type of images that you're creating, right? They may be individual images with like no background. There may be lifestyle images, right? You're in an industry where images are key, right? It's how people are consuming and buying your product. So I would search for ideal pixel sizes. Also, depending on the platform that you're in, most platforms actually have a recommendation and they actually won't let you upload a large file. It should alert you a recommended pixel size, because depending on your template, again, sometimes you may be uploading a square image versus a vertical image. And
Right.
that's that, those pixel sizes are going to vary. So I would first maybe look in the platform that you're in. What platform are you on, by the way?
There's Shopify.
Okay, perfect. So Shopify has a ton of great resources on pixel sizes.
Okay, great. That's
Yep.
helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and then again, just to reiterate, when you're uploading those images, like a Shopify, for example, it's going to actually allow you to write alt text. So you can actually, I would take advantage of those keywords and give it a description on, very specific, like, is it a ruby? Is it a ruby red jewelry
Right.
piece? Is it a gold piece? Is it copper? Is it vintage? Those keywords are going to be huge, especially for your industry.
And so when you say alt text, just so I understand clearly, I mean,
Yeah.
on my website, and I do have a lot of pictures, they have a descriptive name on the
Yeah.
website. But
Perfect.
also, I think where I may have missed the boat is I have not changed it from JPEG 1, 2, 3, 4 to
Yeah.
JPEG
I
crystal.
know I know it's a lot of work. Trust me, I forget, especially if you're uploading a lot of images. But it does pay off in the end because a lot of us, especially like in your industry, we're going to the images tab, right? We're going to the shopping tab. And so when Google can read those images, it's going to know when to show it, when to.
That's excellent. That's excellent. That's so good to know. Thank you.
Yep.
We did get one more question from Bernita Mason. She did ask, what are the actual benefits of naming the image?
That you can show up on Google Images and Google will know what is. So up until now, Google actually can't read an image, right? It doesn't know what it is when you upload it. So it needs us to tell it what you're actually uploading it. So that way it knows when to display it. And I do this all the time when I'm shopping. I actually go to the shopping tab and the images tab probably first because I'm actually looking for something very specific. So that's usually how I do it. And that's when you rename your images, you're also helping with your search engine because Google's really getting to understand what's in your website.
That is awesome. Okay. And Holly, thank you for coming on and asking the question. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Well,
Well, let's just do one more plug, Brian, because I want to make sure that I see all 15 of you back in May.
that's right.
So
That's right.
we invite you guys to come back, and we're really excited for this series.
Hey, TJ.
So we do have one more round, and it's an exciting one. We have 4 series back to back. 4
Did you attend?
nothing but good stuff. Come on. You gotta come and enjoy it. And we definitely invite you. And so you can register through the Eventbrite link that I did put into the chat. And so definitely feel free, but you can always go on our website at ampac.com and check out our events too. But Israel, thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you. And John, I know John says that his takeaway was to add an FAQ page. Keep us posted, John, on what that results for your web increase or your site traffic. I'd be curious to hear from you later on in May to see if that's something that you are tracking your analytics, how that's helped. So thank you, John, for sharing your takeaway. Awesome. Very well.
All right, you all. We'll see you all in May. Have a great day. Thanks, Israel.
Again, bye for now.
Bye for now.